I loved all the drama going into the Perry Cowboy fight. And it wasn't totally, Perry's hands were kind of clean in this. It ended up being between Jackson Wink and Cowboy Cerrone, which then got broken down to Coach Wink versus Cowboy Cerrone. And forget about the story, because I can tell you, I've seen those exact same gym arguments over the years, and there is no hero in that story. There is nobody that's right, and there is nobody that's wrong. There's two guys doing the same thing with two different interpretations of it. So let's leave it at that. But I did add it. It added a promotional element. It added a pressure to that fight that was on Cowboy. He was the one that was feeling it. He was the one fighting at home in Denver. Everything was on him, and I was expecting him to underperform. I didn't know if that was going to be enough to beat. I didn't know how that fight was going to go. Perry is such a wild card. He's just such a brawler. He's such a tough guy. He's such a badass out there. But his technique is that of a guy who's still learning. When it comes to some technical positions, which is the one that he ended up in, he's a guy that's still learning how to do this. He's got all the heart, he's got all the courage, he's got all these wonderful elements. He's still learning what he's doing out there. So Cowboy could outsmart him a little bit. But let's back up. Cowboy isn't terribly consistent. And when I say that, I say it as a very backhanded compliment. And what the compliment is meant to be is Cowboy is so good. His records prove that. His wins prove it. His longevity in this sport proves it. But I have seen him on certain nights where he's the best fighter in the world. But I haven't seen him win the world championship. So when I speak about him not being consistent, it's meant as a huge compliment. It's meant as a guy that's going to go out there that can beat anybody on any given night. But it does compel you to tune in and watch to see who's going to show up. And I thought he was going to have some added pressures. In fact, I'm right about that. He did have extra pressure on him. He just stepped up and overperformed because of it. Most guys, or a lot of time with guys, when they have these pressures, they underperform. He overperformed. And I thought he looked great everywhere. I thought Perry looked great too. Perry is somebody special though. Perry brings something special to the table that not everybody does. Perry has a look. Perry has a style. And Perry has a way of cutting interviews when it's done. He's also got a sportsmanship. I mean, not for nothing. I feel like people don't give Perry enough credit here, because he's very rough around the edges. But after the fact, he always tips his hat every single time. And there's something endearing about that, right? There's something endearing about one of these street fighters like him that makes it to the highest level of sport, always shows up, that can tip his hat on the other side of it. I thought it was a great contest. I don't know where they're going to go from here. There is something to a Donald Cerrone, Conor McGregor fight that makes a lot more sense than maybe a lot of people have put together. Not you guys. You guys are very smart. I'm sure you guys have put it together. But here's the thing. Everybody wants to call out Conor McGregor. I get it. I get the whole thing. But there is a back and forth between Donald Cerrone and Conor McGregor that's on video. That's very relevant for promotion. Okay. Donald Cerrone versus McGregor does work. McGregor, though, had also come out, and after the Khabib fight, he said, I want to fight Khabib next, but if it's not going to be Khabib, and then however he finished that sentence, something to the effect, something to the meaning of, then give me anybody you want, but I want to get back in there. Something like that, though, not those words. The point is this. That fight sells. That fight works. That's the kind of fight, I think, stylistically, that Conor's going to look at and go, yeah, I would take that. For sure, Cowboy's going to look at that and take that. I think if you're looking at the Conor McGregor sweepstakes that is constantly going on, and yeah, he's suspended right now and he's got to get through Nevada, but I do not believe that there is an immediate path to Conor McGregor and Khabib. I don't think that there is. I really think it's going to go Khabib-Tony, which means what is Conor going to do? And while Diaz is certainly an option, while waiting is certainly an option, I think based on what we have seen, based on the records, based on the promotion, based on the interviews, based on the notoriety of Cowboy, I think that's probably the most likely scenario, which I would not have said to you guys a week ago, and I wouldn't have believed it as recently as Saturday morning. But today, I'm starting to see where that makes some sense, and I'm starting to think where Cowboy versus Conor McGregor is a real possibility.